You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are a live show and you can listen to us on 105.5 FM, 660 AM, or you can listen to us online at floridamanradio.com. You can download the Florida Man Radio app, or you can even listen to us on the iHeartRadio app. So there's actually no excuses to not tune in. Oh, and we even have the Facebook Live over there. So
and we're before football. So
and we're before football. Perfect. I am your host, Angela Smerito. In studio with me, we have Heather, our DJ Heather, the producer.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome. And Melissa Jacob, BaaD Radio's videographer, is here today. As always, making us look great. I have a hard time saying videographer. So
it's like realtor.
Realtor, right? Is it realtor or realtor? I never know. So Striking Brand has been producing weekly YouTube videos of BaaD Radio, which you can find on baadradio.com. You can also see some of her other work on strikingbrand.com. So that's other videos as well as photos. The video portion of BaaD Radio wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, which is Dr. James Bowles. He is a fantastic chiropractor. My husband and my daughter have both seen Dr. James, and he is actually still I talked to him yesterday, and he's still working with Lake Mary Chiropractic Center. He said that he closes on his new clinic on the 30th of this month. So we're super excited for him, and then I will give you all the details as soon as I get them. And to my left is my bestie and overall badass, Emily Murphy, hormone expert. Your hormone expert and weight loss and life coach.
Hey.
She's like, hey, twice.
Yes. All right. Great to be here. Right. It's Sunday, show day.
Emily, we decided we like the 11 o'clock hour because it's not too much earlier, but it gives us more time in the afternoon to get stuff done. So
not because we're going to watch football.
Are you a football fan?
I'm married into being one.
Gotcha. So we have two BaaD Radio boss babes in the studio with us today. Please join me in welcoming Debbie Alverio with Creative Connection Consultant.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you, love. Super excited to have you here. And back on BaaD Radio, but with a new gig, please welcome Christine Moody with Assisted Hands Home Care.
Good morning, everyone.
So we're excited to have you back. I know you were always so good behind the mic.
I
remember
you're
thinking,
so sweet.
I was like, she's so natural at this. You can call or text us at any time. The number here is 321-339-1055. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Cut out the middleman and go straight to the source. Premier Couple Superstore has everything from sexy bedroom outfits, toys, games, love oils, and everything in between. And Halloween is right around the corner, so they do really have some great Halloween costumes that you could actually wear outside of the bedroom and inside of the bedroom. And their tagline is one of my favorite of all times, Premier Couple Superstore, because couples that play together stay together. Also, thank you to Liberty Property Inspections. They specialize in home and commercial building inspections, environmental inspections, roof certifications, and pool inspections. You can reach them at 407-739-5795, or you can visit them at libertypropertyinspections.net. And then a huge thank you to Artistic Beauty, Kazoo Creative, and Angela Keen's Hair and Makeup. All right, so we're just cruising right along. Intros are done. So now what we're going to do is we are going to announce the BaaD Business Tip. Last week, the BaaD Business Tip was submitted by Jennifer Welch, owner of Downtown Design Orlando. Jennifer submitted, put your oxygen mask on first. Make sure you're taking care of yourself first, and then you can help your clients to the very best of your ability. So I know that we all kind of put ourselves on the back burner, not just professionally, but on our personal lives too, because I know I do. I know that like the needs of the whole family come before I take care of Angela. So that was actually a really good tip. So this week, the BaaD Business Tip was submitted by a previous winner, but I could not pass it up. It was Brooke Bolts. She's attorney Brooke Bolts, and she said, if you don't have haters, it means you aren't doing anything. So what do you think about that, Emily?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds a little harsh, but haters. But I guess really what it is no matter what you're doing, is somebody's going to have something to say about it. They're going to critique you in some way, shape, or form. And quite honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why people feel the need to go on there and voice their opinions about stuff. But you just have to understand, and like you said before, you just have to grow thicker skin, right?
Yeah. And when it comes to marketing and you're talking about your business standing out from anybody else's business, there has to be things that might, ruffle people's feathers or just go against the grain, because you have to stand apart. And if those things are things that are different in your industry, right, you're going to have people that are going to say, that doesn't work, or, you're full of crap, or whatever, right? And in the back of their minds, though, they're probably going, could that work for my business? Right? Or, am I doing something different and wrong? And there's many ways to get to a goal or a result, or if you're in business or your service or whatever it is. So
I know
it's not one size fits all for everyone.
I do post for a lot of other businesses, and I had a lady tear into me in the Classy group because I did one of my in the Classy group. You can post for businesses on Wednesday. Well, I don't ever really post for myself. I post for other businesses. And this one lady got on there and she just was like, okay, we get it. You've done great. You look great. But blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And she just tore into me about how I just, I'm always like fishing for free stuff and that's why I do it. And I was just like,
did you know her at all?
No.
Did you block her though?
Huh? I didn't have to do anything. The admins took it down.
Yeah.
And she probably got a hand slap for it. And I was just like, all right. Ouch. But, whatever.
Wow.
Lift each other up.
I was just like, I think, like I said, she was like, what is this group?
Rubbed her the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
She's been watching you and it rubbed her the wrong way.
Well, that's just one person. You can totally blow that off and put it aside and move forward.
But that's just it.
The rest of us think you're amazing.
If you don't have haters, then you're doing something wrong. All right. So let's all think about that. And then moving on, so we are going to talk with Emily Murphy, and today we're going to talk about sugar, is what I've been told. So what do we got going on?
So sugar is a big topic that comes up within my program, and as I speak to people every day, and it's like that thing that we know is bad for us, but we all love it anyway, right? And so I think there are things, though, that can make kicking your sugar habit, the unintentionality, is that a word, of just kind of putting things in your mouth that are sugary or satisfying when you are stressed. And this can all, go back to the habits we keep and the life we live that leads us to be very stressed out. Mm-hmm. And then things can even go back as far as, when you were younger and maybe experiencing treats when you were younger, or sugar as comfort or fun times,
reward.
Right. And things that come up as memories, maybe with your grandparents or your parents,
that
when
makes sense.
You're out to eat and things were really good. Right. Mm-hmm. And your brain is like, look at this crap we got to do every day now. Remember that time when things were so good? And it can easily trigger sending you back to find sugar or something else that will take you back to that place and get you out of the current state of stress that you're in. So another reason why I believe that people are super addicted to sugar is because in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, everybody was still pushing low-fat everything.
Hang on one second. What am I hearing? I'm hearing like another audio somewhere. Is your volume down?
There's a ghost.
No. Is anybody else hearing that?
No, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
All right. Sorry to interrupt,
Right.
but continue. I don't know if they can hear it on the air or not, but I'm hearing other audio.
I think it's out in the lobby.
Oh, okay. Sorry for the interruption.
So when we think back, early Weight Watchers, not Adkins, but I'm sorry, like
Well, there's Jenny Craig.
All of these, right. It was all pushing low fat. And so in order to make those things, the diet foods that came out of that time and the snack foods, in order for them to make them taste good and you'd actually be able to eat them, you had to have something in them. So that became sugar. So, and then also things like sugary cereals. Nobody cared that, there's 50 grams of sugar in your kid's cereal as long as it's low fat.
And
right,
we can get them to eat it.
Yeah, right. And so we have this rise of sugar. Now we have this rise of heart disease, high cholesterol, all these things that people are still thinking are rooted in too much fat in your diet. But really, we've pushed the low fat thing aside, and now we're doing high fat, high sugar everywhere. So
high fat and high sugar?
Well, yeah, and that's the SAD diet. The standard American diet is high fat, high sugar. And that is what is really harming our bodies because our bodies just can't process it. We go into complete overload. It's like just pouring more water into your cup than it can handle as you put fats and sugars in at the same time. So, not trying to be too technical, but we all know we eat things like that. Every food that you really like, is a combination of fat and sugar.
I know.
Right? And sugar is carbs, right? So anytime we're talking about sugar, I'm not just talking about candy, ice cream,
desserts.
Heather. We're talking about
much better, okay? I think about Emily every time and she's glaring at me.
I know.
We're talking like pasta, potatoes, breads, these things break down in the body as sugar. So what are the things that we can do? I wanted to give some tips today on things that we can do to be more intentional without trying to overhaul our whole life, right? But in general, just for our health, we know that, the studies have been done. If your blood sugar runs up over 140 throughout the day, and doesn't come down for more than like an hour at a time, you're at a very high risk for heart disease.
Okay.
So we're talking like long-term effects of health, not just weight. So here are some things that I think you can focus on that are super easy and practical before you start even cutting the sugar out. So number one is don't take everything away from yourself, right? Because just cutting yourself off, and some people think they go cold turkey, but without a transition plan where you're going to be able to have some of those things some of the time, it's going to be really hard. And
I get really frustrated and I just shut down and I'm like, forget it. I'm going to eat whatever I want.
Exactly. Because we don't have a clear protocol for what if we just feel like we can't do it that day. Then we're just off the wagon. Then the wagon's running over us again, right? So don't take things away. Add protein and add fiber. And we were talking about this morning. So you want to start adding protein to every meal and building that, and then you want to add fiber. If you don't know what fiber is, start with vegetables, getting a few servings
just green,
of green
or just any vegetables.
I love carrots, and people are still scared of carrots because of sugar.
Really?
And in a cup of carrots, you can get like 7 grams of fiber. And so
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's just an easy, great snack. And so it doesn't have to be green, right? And even artichokes, those are great things to add to salads. But another way to do this is a fiber supplement, just to make sure it's easy. Now, don't always do the fiber supplement and not do vegetables. Sure. Combination of both. Fiber supplement, make sure you have it. It makes sure you have fiber every single day. So number 2 is eat breakfast. If you have any kind of cravings and sugar, monsters that come out later in the day, make sure you eat breakfast and try not to have any sugar at breakfast. Gotcha. So you're trying to take away the
not
sweet
donuts.
stuff. Right.
No
Not donuts. Make it real clear. All right. Number 3 seems a little weird, right? Don't eat carbs alone.
Okay.
All right. So don't eat them by yourself. Don't eat them by themselves. And this is where snack foods get us, because most snack foods are carbs. So even like apples, fruit, and sugary, anything sugary or just carbs, we want to pair them with a protein, pair them with a fiber, and not eat them alone. This slows down the digestion. And then the last one I'll wrap up here is don't drink your calories. Don't drink sugary drinks, because they're going to go into your system so fast you don't have an opportunity to regulate your blood sugar or burn them.
Like orange juice, right?
Right. Any juice, even coffee creamers, things that are spiking you way up, they're going to get your blood sugar bouncing around all day. And it's very hard to recover. When you start crashing, your body just says, eat more sugar.
So what I'd like to do is after each show, I want to be able to do some sort of post that people can go to your, link it so people can follow up on those tips, because I think that they're super important. And I love doing this feature. So sugar, like I said, we all love it, but there's a way to make it work for us. So we're going to go to a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to learn how to protect you and your loved ones' assets. It's important. So guys, stay tuned.
Florida Man Radio. Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And I am going to second that. Welcome back to BaaD Radio. And this is just a reminder, you can call or text in at any time to 321-339-1055. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Impact Electric of Orlando, and they focus on residential and commercial electrical work. Zach's number is 407-747-0874, and he is still in the hiring phase. So if you know anybody that is looking for an excellent career in being an electrician, which pays really, really good, call Zach. Again, his number is 407-747-0874. Also want to thank Andrews Law PA, Renee Sterling with South State Bank, our mortgage professional, and Sheepdog Promotional Products. All right, so before break, I talked about protecting our loved ones and our loved ones' assets. So we have Debbie here today. And tell us the name of your company again.
Creative Connections Consultant.
Yes, and so we actually we just worked with Debbie and got her logo done. And so once the video comes out for that, that's going to have the logo on there. And just a brief overview about why does somebody need to call you to help? It's to help protect our loved ones' assets, right?
Yes, that's correct. So first of all, thank you, BaaD ladies, amazing, for having me here. And so basically what we do at Creative Connections Consultant, we assist in the Medicaid process to transition the patient into the long-term care setting, whether it's a skilled nursing facility and or assisted living facility. During that process, there could be a multitude of dynamics of patients over assets. We partner with attorneys that actually can shelter the patient's assets if necessary, all through while doing the Medicaid application, of course. We also do guardianships. That's amazing. That's a very different process as well, very tedious. But in the almost 20 years now that I've been now in Central Florida, I've met a multitude of medical professionals and, of course, legal attorneys that's with the information and the education I've had and the knowledge and the experience in working in long-term care, I've been able to now couple all of my social work experience out in the field and with the hospital systems as well, and then the legal world, and that's how I created my company.
Well, I'm exceptionally proud of you because I know this has been in the works. What I would like to do is talk about the scenario of how that works. So let's put it like this. Okay, so my mom and dad are, in their mid 70s, right? Right now they're on their own. They can take care of each other. But again, reality is that they are in their mid 70s and they have assets. They have a home. They have cars. They have savings. They have all the stuff that they've worked their whole life for. So the time's going to come where one or both of them is going to need to have additional care. And that's where you come in.
Yes, and that's my passion, is educating, actually, is what I always like to say. I like to educate the family members and the elderly population on what options they have, what's the best option they have in situations like that. So let's say, God forbid, something happens to either one of your parents, God forbid. What we come in and do is we discuss the families, what is it that you actually have, see what programs we can connect you with, such as whether it's Medicaid, if it's a VA, that there's actually, nobody wants to talk about that, but there's actually a huge program for the VA benefits. And then if there has to be a protection of assets, we'll do that. And then all the while still getting the Medicaid applications or the VA application.
And so the reason we're doing this, though, is because, Mom and Dad Kuda didn't spend their whole life to spend their life savings on healthcare. Is that correct?
Pretty much. Pretty much. And I think now, especially nowadays, the way the market's going, it's just a little crazy. And I don't think consumers actually realize when you go into the long-term care settings or what are the verifications. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we're not prepared. That's why, I
think that happens all the time.
That happens all the time. And
what's the average cost of permanent home facility?
A skilled nursing facility in Central Florida right now, or in the state of Florida, it averages anywhere from $7,300 up to $15,000 a month.
A month. Did you hear that, people? A month. So mom and dad could have spent a long time saving their money, but they can at 15 grand a pop a month.
It goes quickly.
That can be gone in no time.
It does.
Okay, so that's what protecting assets means, right? And so you want to protect the assets. So I don't understand Medicare and all that other stuff very well, and I know that we have to be careful about what you say and what you don't say. But so they come to you, and then you assess the assets, correct?
So let's use a scenario first. Actually, one of our BNI members from another cross chapter came to me. We were discussing his mom's situation, who was currently in an assisted living facility. She was about to run out of assets. So when I sat with him, actually, we discussed what is it that she could qualify for. So at the time, the attorney was able to shelter some of her assets that she had left. We also found out that she was eligible for VA because her dad was a VA. And
this is what people don't know. That's why I love what you do.
Yeah. So then with that specific situation, what happened was the attorneys, of course, we were able to get the Medicaid application going, shelter some of her assets, and then also include that VA benefit where now she was able to stay in her assisted living facility a lot longer than what was expected. So she was excited. He was super excited because she loved the facility. And honestly, the team members in the facility, I have to say the medical professional world, not because I'm in it, but it's amazing what they do on a day-to-day basis. Because they become our family, actually. The patients actually are residents, is what we call them. They become our family. That's their home. So now she didn't have to move. So that was just kind of like one of our little success stories that I was able to witness.
I love that. So do you kind of consider yourself a liaison?
I am. That's what I like to say.
I think
I like to educate people on what
I think that's a sexy way of saying what you do. You're a liaison between this and this. So do you actually work with those individual facilities as well to help place?
Yes, ma'am, I do actually.
Call me ma'am. Ma'am.
Angela. So in my experience here, actually, I've been a liaison for a multitude of skilled nursing facilities. Again, super blessed that I've had that opportunity and that education. And then the hospital systems, because of course the hospital systems very much need, but the leadership in the hospital systems are very, very well aware, super duper helpful to try to transition the family back into whatever level of care they need. And most importantly, back to you, just to piggyback on that. So CHF is number one, readmission to the hospital. That's another whole topic that we could discuss at a later
What did
date.
you say?
Yeah,
It's a readmission. It's congestive heart failure.
Oh, congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So when you're
didn't hear.
talking about that, it's just like, oh, yes, that's absolutely, number one readmission to the hospitals.
Is number one for what?
Congestive heart
Heart failure.
Heart disease.
Oh,
disease.
gotcha.
Heart disease. So thank you for bringing that up.
No, usually in stuff like this, there's always things that like lead into other parts and other parts. And so you said you talked about guardianships. What is that?
So guardianships, the attorneys, of course, that's a whole legality thing, but
Just a little bit louder, girlfriend.
so sorry. So then, so a guardianship, it depends on that. Say a patient's not alert and oriented anymore and is not able to make their needs known, and they don't have, again, huge, their power of attorney. That's huge. Estate planning, guys. I am a big, promoter of advanced directives. If you don't have them yet, God forbid that patient now cannot make their needs known. Now you have to have either a court-appointed attorney or guardian.
You're talking about having a will.
A power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, especially, last will and testament, stuff like that. Your advanced directives is what we call. If you don't have that in place, now you go into, God forbid, you can't make your needs known. Now the court system or one of your loved ones will have to be named as guardian over you and your financials and all that other. That's also a very tedious process, very expensive. Actually, could be very pricey.
To get a guardian or to get the will?
To get a guardian, and then the court systems, because remember we're at the mercy of the court system as well.
Right.
So and they have their processes as well, of course. So I always say again, if you don't have your estate planning,
right,
please get your estate planning done. That's
the
vital.
older I get, the more and more I realize how important that is. So you work with a family to establish that. So you set them up with like an attorney's
Yeah, absolutely.
firm? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how do you find the attorneys that you want to work with? Just
Because
from your experience?
Because I already have those already in place. Yes.
See?
I already have my attorneys in place that I've partnered with. Yes, absolutely.
And so, again, I think this is where your experience is just invaluable. All right, so we have about 2 minutes left in here. So, again, like I said, I don't want to dive too heavy into it's Medicare or Medicaid?
It's Medicaid.
Medicaid.
Medicaid. Yeah.
What different types of home care are there? There's like living facilities, but isn't there some other options that people have as well?
There is. So in the Medicaid process and long-term care, we call that ICP, which is Institutional Care Program. That's long-term care Medicaid, very different than what we call the Medicaid waiver, which is what Christine, I'm sure, will talk about in her. So that's when we're out in the community for long-term care or, Medicaid. So 2 pots of money, but if the patient qualifies, then of course they're entitled to that. They've worked their whole life, and so this is what we do for them.
So there's 100% living at a facility. There's people coming to help you, but there's also like adult type of daycare kind of places as well,
yes,
right?
there is, and actually Medicaid does pay for that. Nobody discuss that either, or it's not that they don't discuss this. I don't think that they're aware, they're not knowledgeable as to the options that they have. But yes, some Medicaid programs actually do pay for whether it's assisted living, skilled nursing facility, and if you have like adult daycare, they pay for that as well, actually.
And I know we have like 30 seconds left, but don't stress. So how do you keep up to date with all the rules and regulations because doesn't it change all the time?
It changes all the time. The medical field is always changing. But with that being said, it's constant education and blessed being in the skilled nursing facilities and with the leaderships in the hospital. That's how we get it all together.
All right. Well, we are coming up to a break. Honestly, guys, I can't stress enough how important this stuff is. So I definitely recommend giving Debbie a call. At the end of the show, we're going to give all your contact information out. So, like I said, we're going to a break. So we've talked about protecting your loved one's assets. When we get back, we're going to be talking about protecting your loved one with Christine Moody. So stay tuned.
Florida Man Radio. Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. You can call or text us at any time to 321-339-1055. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. So this actually happened to us yesterday. We had so much rain on Friday, and on Saturday morning, I got up to let the dog out, and guess what was on? My sprinklers. And I was like, so I don't think we have a sensor. So we will be giving Rick Hall a call just because I told Tom, I was like, I feel like we're drowning our lawn. And he's like, we are. So like I said, if you are in that same situation that I am, then give Rick Hall a call at 407-468-4295. You can also find him at groundupinc.net. I'd like to thank Four Seasons AC for putting us in the deep freeze today. So we're all very cold, Brian. Thank you. and also a huge thank you to 33 Tanning Spa with locations in Altamont Springs and in Longwood. All right. So before the break, we were talking with Debbie, and so now we're going to talk with Christine Moody about. We were talking about protecting our assets. Now we're talking about protecting our loved ones and making them comfortable. So welcome, Christine. Glad to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back.
Yes, we love having you in here. You're so charismatic behind the mic. So tell us a little bit about where you're working now.
Sure. Well, I'm working for Assisting Hands Home Care. I'm actually working in 4 counties here in Central Florida. Have a friend that, owns a business, and I really wanted to help him out. The population of senior citizens. I mean, we're like 80,000 senior citizens in Orange County alone here.
What are the 4 counties that you're working with?
Lake, Seminole, Osceola, and Orange.
Okay.
And, parts of all of those and surrounding areas. And the population of 65 or older is going to increase by like 35% in the next 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So there's just such a huge need for, helping our senior citizens.
I'm from Melbourne, and I can guarantee you that it's a heck of a lot higher than that over in Brevard.
Yeah.
We're not out there, but
yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So assisting. So tell us a little bit about.
So this is home care. So it means helping with your daily living activities. A lot of times, Debbie was talking about people being in facilities, long term. But a lot of times, the goal is to stay at home as long as you can before you go into facilities. So many people want to stay in the comfort of their home.
Yeah.
And so we help make that happen by providing help with daily living activities. And we'll individualize it. We come in and do an individual care plan, do an assessment and talk with the family, with the loved ones to figure out exactly what they need and how many hours of it they need.
Sure.
And then we'll be very intentional in matching a caregiver to their needs to follow that plan. And so it could be as simple as, companionship, but it could also be toileting and getting dressed and meal prep and, your daily living activities, sometimes running errands.
That's a big one, going to the store and getting groceries and things like that.
You want to have as much dignity as you get older or struggling with your independence or with safety in the home. Keep your routines as normal as you can, right? And as you've always been. So we can help with that.
So when you go in and do an assessment, sometimes is it, okay, this is a little bit outside of what we're able to do, and then you partner and then do you help find them additional places?
Sure, absolutely. We want to make sure that we're very clear, so their expectations of what we can and can't do, because we don't do anything medical, right? So
so you don't
like wound
so
care.
It's more like a nanny, right?
That's not very dignified, but
I guess.
Well, do they help with like laundry or like giving
they can do
like
light
how about
housekeeping? Laundry, change your bed.
make sure they take their pills?
We can do, yes, of course.
Okay.
Medication
toiletries,
reminders.
so
Yeah.
That's helpful.
But not like baths.
No, we can do help with
you
showering
can.
and bathing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. See,
prevent falls, just be that, bring the safety,
Yeah.
And, she was talking about hospital and readmission. Sometimes people are in a hospital for some kind of reason, right? And then they're being released to home. But that is a big deal, hospital readmission. And so there's actually data and statistics out there to show that having a home caregiver helps improve that, reduce that readmission rate.
Yeah.
You're like a hired spouse.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
Well,
I
and
want
the other thing
I
we do.
I would take a nanny. That's not.
But also, a lot of times there might even be a spouse there, but they want to get back to being in the spouse role and not the caregiver role.
Or they're
right?
similar
like maintain
age.
your relationships, or if something does happen to the spouse, then we can step in too. But a lot of times, like somebody said earlier, the spouses take care of each other. But there's plenty of people too that live alone. They've already lost their spouse or they simply live alone. And it doesn't have to be older people. I mean, if you lived alone and had a surgery,
true, right?
Yeah, we can help with that too.
I just assumed that it was the elderly, but it's not, is it? Huh.
No,
I was also curious about making it a safe zone. Do you guys work with companies, or does your company provide the service where
part
you go
of our
and
assessment is a safety evaluation, but also I know consultants out there too, that I can partner with that do that.
What does that mean?
their showers, like with the bars
all
and
the
the
adaptive
bars
stuff
by the
they
bathroom.
may need, to prevent falls and just make a safe environment for sure.
Like you said, even stairs. I know that when Tom's mom came and stayed with us for a little bit, we knew immediately that it wasn't going to work because my house has all these multi-levels. And like I said, it was just too hard for her because there was even step downs to go into some of the bathrooms. And it was, it just wasn't going to work for that. All right. So with the different counties, so tell me a little bit about, so you were saying that the project managers know what was the ones when they're coming, when they're being checked out.
Discharge planners.
Yes. So you work with them, right?
Correct.
And so how does that go? You just meet with them and then they tell you about the individual situations. And
right. They'll say, I have a client that's ready to go home, and can we, they'll basically just pass the baton to us and we'll work with them and to plan and individualize their care at home.
Do you go and meet with their family or do you go into the hospital?
Both. I mean, if they're still in the hospital, for sure, we'll go visit the client there. And then, the loved ones are an important part of that decision too sometimes, and it might be out of state people.
That's
so
what I was
we'll
about
do
to
whatever
ask,
we need to
too.
do. We can do, Zooms, we can do, 3-way calls, whatever, because, that's the other thing, that component that's so important is that peace of mind for loved ones. I mean, how many people have parents or whatever that live here in Florida, they're out of state and they're pulling their hair out. Where do I start? What do I do? And that's kind of where I come into, instead of them going down that rabbit hole on the internet, and not knowing who to trust or where to turn. I'm like a personal liaison.
So if they need medical care or another step up in their care, you know who to attach them to?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, I think that service is invaluable, because I couldn't imagine it, just like I said, not knowing who to call to trust, because you're perfect for this job. Just saying.
Thank you.
So Jamie, he had a home inspection. My husband does home inspections, and a couple weeks ago got to a house where a guy had a cancer that went downhill very quickly, and his family was there out of town. The house was a mess. Nobody lived here near him, no family, and they had no idea like how bad it was, and he didn't communicate that to them.
Sure.
But I mean, the reality of like what can happen when people are just on their own. I mean, and then you think about like even how safe is it for them to cook, or
No, I know
when
Tom's
you talk about
mom
safety,
wasn't.
like like what are they even eating then? Because if they can't cook, or they can't shut, like he probably wasn't driving and going to the store. Who knows? Like.
Right.
Yeah, when my father-in-law stayed with us, he's like 91, and he really wouldn't eat unless I said, "Hey, would you like a sandwich?" And he'd say yes, and he was capable of making one, but he wouldn't. He's just older,
Right.
and I'd be like, "Would you like me to make you one?" That would be nice. So if he didn't have someone there, making his meals and helping with meal prep, he wouldn't eat. He would stay in bed majority of the day. He would stay in his pajamas and his robe, and it's like somebody to help you get up and live life, and but we will provide those services anywhere that's home. So we can do it. We can supplement what's going on in assisted living, independent living,
okay.
and even hospice at home, because they're going to see a nurse maybe a couple times a week, and they have somebody on call, but the nurses are doing the nursing.
Right.
But we would come in and help the family member, especially. It's a really tough time. You don't want to be worrying about all the little not so fun stuff. So.
And when it comes to cost, I mean, you can get help, financial help.
So typically, it's paid for by the hour, right? So you have like, and then it's private pay is one way.
Right.
Of course, if we are actually a company that has Medicaid contract.
Okay.
So that's kind of perfect. They can go on private pay and then go through this process with Debbie,
right,
to protect their assets, to apply for Medicaid, to get on the wait list. And then they start with us. Then when they come off that wait list, they have the continuity of care of not having to switch a provider. And then now they can go into Medicaid. We also have VA contract. So those are the ways. And of course, long-term care insurance. So if you talk about planning
I was
ahead,
ask you that, because you said you've talked about the same. Is there other things besides
long-term
Medicaid?
care insurance is important.
Okay, so how do you get that? You just go to a lawyer?
It's just another insurance from an insurance agent, but it's just so important because, think about it. When you're older, who do you want taking care of you? It's going to end up usually being like a daughter-in-law or something, helping you shower. I'm thinking of my daughter, potential daughter-in-law with my husband. That's not going to go down very well. So I'm like, I want some long-term insurance so that I can pay for a caregiver to come in and help with those things, and I can just be the wife.
It really can cause so much stress. I mean, because when you talk about when your parents are getting older, that's a time your kids could be teenagers. Like you're really heavily, committed to all the things that they're in. And it's just so.
No, there's so much.
There's a generation that's caught between their caregiving for their own children and their caregiving for their parents. And they just stress out, and then their hormones get out of whack and they have to go see Emily.
It is it's a big thing with a lot of my clients.
Yeah. And we're all about peace of mind. It really helps a lot.
I'm curious too, what percentage of women are the caregivers?
I'm sure it's a huge number.
Huge. But back to the long-term care, you said you wanted to do something earlier. I got mine about 3 years ago because I thought about that. I'm like, I have 2 sons, of course.
Yeah.
I don't want them, taking care of me or wiping me, so I'm like, let me just get long-term.
To think about.
Yeah. So I could connect it with somebody. We actually have my a whole different groups called WSB, WSG that I belong to. And that's where I got my long-term care, because I'm like, I will be, I'm not going to have
Yeah.
if they even want to, or their wives,
Right.
heaven forbid.
Yeah.
I mean, they're young. Well, they're not that young, but heaven forbid.
I'm
Yeah.
curious to see how the interview process goes. Are you involved in the matching with the caregiver to the families?
No, not typically. I can be involved in the initial assessment, and then we have a very detailed. I mean, it's like a thick
'Cause that's really
bunch of
important,
papers, and we
too.
provide all those details to. We have a person in the office that works closely with all the caregivers, knows what all their skill sets are. Of course, they're all licensed and
Oh, I'm
certified,
sure.
and they have all these different certifications and 75 hours of training, because we are having Medicaid and VA contracts. We're kind of at another higher level
And
with our
background checks.
caregivers. Yeah,
And
of course,
background-
level
oh,
2
yes.
background checks. But everybody has their own personalities and skill sets. And so
Definitely.
we do try and individualize, and some agencies might be next up and they use a registry, and we use W-2. They're more like employees, and so we really intentionally match them.
Well, no, I think that's fantastic. And you said you were about 2 minutes out right now, a little bit, like 2.5 minutes. All right. So what else would you like to talk about real quickly about, assisted hands helping, right? Or
Assisting Hands Home Care.
okay. And your role is
I'm actually the director of community relations. So again, like Debbie, I'm in an education role also, just helping people know what their options are and making sure I have the relationships to help them partner with whatever they need. So if they need safety, if they need to protect their Medicaid assets, if they need a probate elder care law attorney, if they need guardianship, to help direct them and connect them, but also just to make sure that, they're with a company that cares,
I
and
know you do. So.
yeah, I do. And, we kind of have a motto is like, make it happen, do what it takes,
Tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
Sure. So they can get in touch with me. I give out my personal number.
I do too.
317-657-6361, or they can email me at cmoody,
Moody,
cmoody@assistinghands.com.
Awesome. All right, Debbie, let everybody know how to get in touch with you.
Well, I too give my personal cell number out, so that's 407-575-4711, or you could always email me as well at creativeconnectionsconsultant@gmail.com.
All right, swing that mic over there for her, and then go ahead.
All right, and I'm Melissa Jacob. I own Striking Brand. I do photography and videography. You can find me Striking Brand on all social media.
Okay, and Emily?
Emily Murphy, weight loss and life coach. You can find me at gogetemcoach.com.
Okay, and I am Angela. You can find all previous BaaD episodes on baadradio.com. You can also reach me at 321. I almost forgot my own number. 321-300-36462. Okay,
one more time.
6424.
Try again. Okay, everybody.
321-303-6424 is my cell phone number.
Ta-da.
But really, go to baadradio.com. All right. So, you guys, that was a great show. I appreciate you all having here. And you guys, thank you for listening. And we hope to hear, or for you to be here next week, too. So, have a great week, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.